All right, so you've been really wanting to get into this Nova City Heroes source book, right?
Yeah, it's quite something else. Superheroes, conspiracies, even it even touches on interdimensional stuff. It's wild.
Okay, see, now you've got me hooked. Where do we even start with all this?
Well, the game really hinges on this one event, the vanishing. Think of it like it flips the whole superhero thing on its head.
I did notice that when I was looking through the book. It's
Yep.
like we're dropped right into the aftermath of it all, you know?
Exactly. It's not just about the heroes, but what happens to the world when they're gone. And that world, that's Nova City.
And not just any city, right? From what I gathered, Nova City has a whole history to it.
Oh, absolutely. Built on the ruins of old Atlantic City.
Wow.
Wiped out by, let me see, yeah, the Devastator during the Axis War.
Wow. Okay, so you're already talking about a city that's been through some serious trauma.
And rebuilt to withstand almost anything yet.
Yeah.
Then the vanishing happens. Well, it makes you wonder.
It's more than a coincidence, that's for sure. So fill me in what exactly happened.
It was sudden, instantaneous. 1 minute they're there, these super-powered individuals integrated into society, firefighters, teachers, you name it, and then poof, gone.
Just like that.
The source material makes it clear. Planet-wide, almost every single one, gone.
And the ones who are left. The game calls them survivors.
Which is an interesting choice, right? Survivors. Like, they lived through something truly awful, and they're finding this gold dust where the others vanished.
Okay, now that's just creepy. What is this gold dust anyway?
That's the million-dollar question. The book describes it as this strange, almost alien substance, like whatever happened isn't just some, everyday disappearance.
So we've got this city, still scarred from its past, and then bam, plunged into this even bigger unknown. But it's not just the missing people, right? What happens to the world when the heroes are just gone?
Chaos, essentially. Crime in Nova City explodes. The police are completely overwhelmed. It's like someone hit a reset button on society.
All those years of, I don't know, relative safety just gone overnight.
And suddenly, it's up to these survivors, these new heroes, to figure out what's next.
Talk about a tough job. But there's another layer to this, right? This whole thing with other realms, Avalon, Babylon. It makes you wonder if the vanishing was limited to just Earth.
That is something the game wants us to think about. Were these realms just stories? Or were they more real than anyone knew? And what happened to them when the heroes vanished?
This is already way more than I expected, and we haven't even touched on those factions you mentioned earlier. Falcon, Sentinel.
Each with its own response to the vanishing. Falcon, they seem focused on figuring out what happened, like actually investigating.
While Sentinel. I get the feeling they're less about understanding and more about control.
And then there's Ragnarok, lurking in the background.
And they're connected to all of this how?
The source material directly links them to that attack on Atlantic City, the one that destroyed it. So were they involved with the vanishing too? And if so, what's their game?
All right, now those are questions I need answers to.
So, Ragnarok, right, tied to the city's past, and now possibly to the vanishing too, adds a whole other level to this whole thing.
It's like they've been there the whole time pulling strings. Maybe they knew this was going to happen. Maybe they even made it happen.
It's possible, but the interesting thing is, each of these factions, they represent a different reaction to all this chaos,
Like Falcon wants to understand it, Sentinel wants to control it.
And Ragnarok, who knows with them? They're the wild card. And maybe by figuring out their game, we get a bit closer to the truth of the matter.
Makes sense. Now, about those other realms, Avalon, Babylon, if they were so connected to Earth before, what did the vanishing do to them?
It's not spelled out for us, but think of it this way. What if these realms aren't just places, but like forces, ideas?
Okay, like Avalon is nature, Babylon is progress, that kind of thing.
Right, and if they're populated by heroes too, and those heroes are gone, does that mean those forces are out of whack? Is that what Ragnarok wants to exploit?
Man, that's some next level stuff.
Okay.
Okay, before we go too far down that rabbit hole, there's someone else you mentioned, Victor Kane. The book makes him sound like, I don't know, not entirely good or bad.
Victor Kane. Yeah, he's an interesting one. This brilliant scientist, the guy who basically invented the Devastator.
Hold on, he's the reason Atlantic City is gone.
He created the weapon, yes, and it haunted him. He vanished himself, went into exile. But the source book hints that he's back and might know something about the vanishing.
So which is it? Is he trying to fix things or make them worse?
That's the question, right? Is it redemption he wants or revenge? And that gets to the core of this whole world. What does it even mean to be a hero when everything's gone crazy?
And the game really makes you think about that. It's not black and white, good guys and bad guys. It's messy.
Exactly. Even before the Vanishing, Nova City had its problems. Now, it's all bubbling to the surface. So these new heroes, they're not just fighting villains, they're fighting a system that might be broken already.
And they don't even fully understand what happened to the heroes that came before them. It's a lot.
It is, and that's why I think the game uses hope as a mechanic. It's not just a feeling in this world. It's something you hold on to.
Right, those hope points. Like in a place like Nightfall, every good thing you do, that's a little bit of hope restored.
Yeah.
But every bad thing that eats away at you.
And if you lose too much hope, you fall into despair, which in this world can have some pretty messed up effects.
That's heavy, man. Thinking about all this, it makes you wonder, why even try to be a hero in this world?
It's the core of the human spirit, maybe. Even when things are rough, there's that part of us that wants to do good, to help.
Maybe some were doing it out of duty to those who vanished.
Some might believe they can actually fix things, put the world back together.
And some, maybe they just want to make it to tomorrow, whatever it takes.
And in those struggles, in those tiny acts of defiance, that's where you find real heroism. It's not always flashy, but it matters.
This has been a lot. And we've only scratched the surface of this whole Nova City Heroes thing.
It really makes you rethink everything you thought you knew about heroes. Sacrifice, even hope.
So last we left off, we were talking about Nightfall, that district where, well, things got interesting after the Vanishing, to say the least.
Right, Nightfall. It's almost like a test case, you know? This flashy, secretive place. For the survivors, it's a crash course in the new reality of Nova City.
Do they stick to the old ways of doing things, even if those ways weren't that great to begin with? Or do they try something new? Especially when order, whatever that means now, is kind of up in the air.
And that's the thing about this whole world, isn't it? The game never tells you what's right or wrong. The source material even points out that Nova City, even before the Vanishing, it had its share of problems.
Like corruption was already there.
Exactly. And now, those cracks are turning into canyons. It makes you think about these new heroes. They're not just figuring out how to be heroes, they're figuring out what that even means in this messed up world.
Especially when they're dealing with the loss of their own heroes, too. The ones who vanished.
It's a lot of baggage, and I think that's where the hope mechanic comes in. It's like this constant battle.
Yeah, those hope points. You do something good in a place like Nightfall, it's a win. It lifts people up, even a little. But every bad thing, every loss, that takes its toll.
And if a hero loses sight of hope altogether, the game calls it despair, and it can really drag a character down.
It's like a reminder that these heroes, they're not invincible. What happens to a person, even a hero, when they face that kind of pressure? Makes you wonder.
And that's what I like about Nova City Heroes. It doesn't shy away from the hard stuff.
So, given all that,
Yeah.
why even try? Why even try to be a hero in this world that's gone, well, haywire?
Maybe it's in our nature, right? Even when everything's falling apart, there's that part of us that wants to help, to make things better.
Maybe some folks feel like it's their duty, to carry the torch for the heroes that are gone.
Some might think they can actually set things right, fix the world.
Or maybe some are just holding on, hoping for a better tomorrow.
And those stories, the ones about everyday people doing what they can, those are the ones that stick with you. This game, it shows you that you don't need a cape to be a hero. Sometimes, just trying your best is enough.
Man, we've covered a lot of ground, haven't we? And this is just scratching the surface of this whole Nova City Heroes thing.
It's a lot to process. This game, it makes you question everything you thought you knew about heroism, about hope, about what it means to be human, even.
It sure does. So to wrap things up, for anyone out there who likes their games with a bit more, shall we say, depth, who wants to explore a world that's as challenging as it is rewarding.
Nova City Heroes is waiting.
It's a world where, even though the heroes we knew are gone, well, maybe, just maybe, the potential for heroism is still out there in all of us.
And that's a powerful message.
It really is. So until next time, keep exploring, keep asking the tough questions, and keep hoping.